My name is Bethany. I've been married once, but because of my husband's infidelity and money troubles, it didn't last long and ended in divorce. Since then, I've been living as a single mother to my 2 sons. Although it was tough, I have ultimately become successful. I've never hated studying since I was a child. I particularly loved science experiments starting from the elementary school and still look back at them fondly. During university, I became close with a male classmate and we started dating. After graduation, I started working as a cosmetics development researcher at a major cosmetics company. My relationship with him continued, but I really enjoyed my job. After I started working, we didn't see each other as often after that. You seem busy with work, but I was wondering, can we spend more time together? Sorry, I tend to get absorbed in my work. I'll try to be more careful. We're both working now. Let's get married. Then, if you're ever busy with work, we can see each other every day. So I responded to him. All right. With these words from him, we decided to get married without further notice. I was dating him because I liked him and had no reason to refuse. And then we had our baby. When I found out I was pregnant, I was really happy, and it was the first time I forgot about my research. I decided to quit my job completely. I didn't have any hesitation about it at that time. Our eldest son Tim was born, and 2 years later, our younger son Paul was born. I was very busy with childcare and housework every day, and that was all I could handle. I didn't notice anything unusual about my husband, but it turned out he had been laid off from his company for several months and secretly borrowed my money, gave me part of it for our living expenses, and used up the rest of it for gambling. I didn't notice his fake facade of going to work every day in the morning as usual. One day, a collection letter arrived at our home, and the truth was revealed. I added some money from my savings to help with the debt repayment and decided to get a divorce. Although we could have still made it work regarding the money, as I researched the debt, evidence of his frequent infidelity was revealed in his phone messages. I was fed up with this and asked for a divorce. He agreed to the divorce without protesting, and then I was left taking care of my 2 sons alone. It wasn't easy. Why don't you bring Tim and Paul here? Let's live together. I appreciate you saying that, but if we did, our neighbors would start spreading rumors about our divorce and it would cause trouble for the boys. I'll be okay. You don't have to worry about that. If there's anything I can do to help, just let me know. Thank you, Mom. Having someone who worried about me like that became my greatest motivation. Also, I was able to work again at the place I worked before getting married, and during the day, I left my sons at a nursery. In the midst of such a new life, I suddenly had an idea. I suddenly remembered the sensation of when I got to work as a researcher of basic cosmetics that were both time efficient and gentle on the skin. Once I felt like this, as someone who originally loved research, I found myself excitedly diving into my work every day. Then, the cleansing cream that I made became a hugely popular product, and it became well known worldwide. My life changed completely from that. But from a married life that was already difficult enough with childcare and housework, I had work and research added to it from my divorce. On my days off, I played with my sons with all my might. I had no time to rest. By the time my children were a little older, I had done a lot of research, and what I had created, starting with the cleansing and mainly basic cosmetics, naturally permeated the world. I was generating huge sales, my responsibilities increased, and my income far exceeded that of ordinary male office workers. Thanks to that, I was able to send my kids to university without inconveniencing them or borrowing anyone's help. My eldest son, Tim, supported my work, and I believe that he will surely inherit my passion for work in the future. Paul, on the other hand, rebelled against his obedient older brother and me. When he was a little boy, he always followed his brother and was often taken care of by Tim, but before long, that stopped happening, and on the contrary, Paul seems to be walking away down the same path as his older brother, Tim. Starting with club activities and lessons, fashion and car preferences, the two of them started to choose opposite paths. After graduating from university, Paul took a leave of absence from work in a completely unrelated field. Just give me the capital, and I'll definitely make it a success. You're being too naive. Running a company isn't that easy. If you want me to invest, bring a convincing business plan. Alright, I'll bring it right away. I read through the plan he brought, and while the content was new and interesting, it was nothing more than a child's writing. Even so, as a mother, I had the desire to support him, so I'd had him make revisions to the business plan, and I approved the investment. He started the company. I watched him for a while, but in the end, he had no experience, no history, and no connections. As I had imagined, things did not go quite smoothly at first, but despite my worries, Paul suddenly got married. Paul's wife, Carol, is 3 years younger than him at 23 years old. With his young age and his title as the company president, and not to mention his good looks, it was only natural for a few girls to come after him. Although it may sound biased coming from his mother, Paul has a good personality, is friendly and sociable, and can get along with anyone. Even without much experience or skill, he'll probably be able to get to work with just his personality. That's what I thought, at least. As the young couple started their married life, I was worried, so I would secretly give Paul some money when we met, or invite the two of them to dinner and do what I could to help. They were initially living in an apartment, but one day Paul came to see me with a request. I want to buy a house, but the business isn't that great right now and I can't get a decent loan from a bank. Can you buy a house for me in your name without telling Carol? I'll make sure to pay the monthly payments. Even now, I think I'm contributing enough to both of your household and business. I know, the business will definitely pick up from here on, but I don't want to bring up that with Carol. Please, Mom. Unable to resist his persuasion, I bought a new house for the two of them to live in. Carol is a housewife and basically spends her days at home. Whenever I passed by, I would stop by and give her gifts or cakes or fruits. Thank you for always bringing us things, Bethany. I'll have them when Paul comes home. Whenever I went unannounced, I would always see her in her pajamas with no makeup on, and I couldn't help but feel unpleasant. If she was just being lazy, she could get a part-time job or something. Since they didn't have any children yet, she could easily work. That's what I thought to myself. When I think back on the hardships I faced, I can't help but feel the way when I see a woman like her, and yet I know I'll still come back to their house despite feeling this way. However, I'm sure that she could use some sense from these feelings from me. One day, Paul said something like this to me. Mom, don't ever come to our house too often during the day. If you have something to give us, just come to my office. Why? Did Carol say something to you? Carol is still young and doesn't have much experience dealing with in-laws, so it seems to tire her out. Tire her out? I'm just giving her stuff at the front door. I'm not even going in the house. That's kind of rude of her to say. I knew there was no point of saying anything to Paul, who was caught in between us. She spends every day sitting around without even working, you know. Maybe you haven't said anything to her yet, but your business is in trouble right now. Why don't you go ask her to help out a little? I know. And you haven't been paying attention to the mortgage either. When the business picks up, I'll pay it all at once, so wait. Anyone would have given up already if they saw how his business was doing. Apparently, his personality wasn't good enough for the business to succeed. Still, he wanted to maintain a good image in front of his wife. As things were, Paul must have felt like he was going to lose both his business and his wife. You should seriously think about your business. I can't keep investing anymore. I know. Actually, there was something I haven't been able to tell you. What is it? Carol is pregnant. As they were married, it was certainly good news. I knew I had to congratulate them, but I wasn't convinced. I avoided going to Paul's house or office for a while, and when Carol started her second trimester, Paul invited me to dinner. Carol is feeling better now, and I was able to make a deal at work. She'll prepare the food, so why don't you and Tim come over for dinner? I'll pass. Things will feel weird if we keep avoiding each other, you know? Please? Fine. On the day of the dinner, I prepared a gift and went to Paul's house with Tim. To be honest, I wasn't in the mood at all, but I tried to switch my feelings and motivate myself. Good evening, thank you for inviting us. It must have been hard preparing everything alone. What? What are you talking about? From Carol's reaction, I immediately knew that Paul hadn't told her about today's dinner. Isn't Paul back yet? We came because he invited us. I haven't heard anything about dinner, and you can't just come over like this. Pregnant women are emotionally unstable. Please don't give me any more stress. Don't ever come here again. Tim and I stood frozen, unable to find words to respond. We were there because we were invited, and we were suddenly told not to come again? I'm sorry, I'm late. What's wrong? Paul, did you forget to tell Carol about today? Sorry, I was busy. I may have forgotten to tell her. You need to get your act together. Stop messing with everyone and be more responsible. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry, Carol. We're leaving now, so rest up. Don't worry, we won't come back here again. I went to my office and asked the legal advisor to change all the names on the house loan I'd purchased under Paul's name. I thought to myself that things couldn't go on like this and I need to make things right. A few days later, Paul rushed over to my place with Carol. Mom, why is the house loan addressed to me? It's for your house, isn't it? So of course it's addressed to you. You can't just do that. That's not fair. You know about my business, right? Don't rely on your mother forever. You have a wife and a child too. I'll be there to support you, but you two have to work hard together. If you keep doing things like this secretly, of course Carol is going to feel bad. If you have any requests in the future, please come to my office and make them formally. Bethany, I'm really sorry about the other day. Paul never tells me anything. On the night when I said such terrible things to you, I questioned him about it and learned a lot. I was spoiling him because he's my son. I'm sorry about that. When Paul bought their house, he saw his mother secretly, and he never brought Carol along for any of the procedures. He also never told her anything about the company's financial situation and let her manage the household finances. She didn't understand what was really going on. She wasn't a bad person. She just felt like she was being left out. Now that she knows the truth, she apologized for her terrible comments and said that she would cooperate with him from now on. Paul, couples should share their hardships during difficult times, just like Carol said. Okay? I had a similar experience when I divorced your father, so I don't want you two to end up like that. Work together and help each other out. Before coming here, Paul and Carol had discussed things as she had explained in detail to me. From now on, Carol will manage the household finances and will be responsible for the company's accounting until the baby is born. As it turned out, she had studied business administration at university and was capable of doing the accounting work with ease. I felt embarrassed for judging her as young and irresponsible just based on appearance. Her explanation was easy to understand and concise, and I could feel her competence to the extent that I wanted to recruit her for our company. I even thought that Paul's business could be revived by her efforts. Bethany, I think it will take some time for us to get back on track. I will also work hard to bring things into good shape. Is it okay for me to come to you for advice when we're in trouble? Of course, anything for you, Carol. Thank you very much for forgiving me. After this day, Carol and I became very close, to the extent of having tea or lunch together or even going shopping. Both Carol and I were surprised by how well we got along. We haven't been involved with each other much before, but in reality, we had a lot in common. I enjoyed it as I had a daughter. Maybe it was because we had taken a roundabout way, had disputes and arguments, that we became like this. If I think about it that way, I'm grateful to Paul as well. Eventually, Carol began to help Paul's business, and it was revived thanks to her knowledge and talent. Paul no longer needed to put up a front, and whenever he had problems, he would talk to Carol first. Things were moving in a positive direction. Meanwhile, Carol's belly grew bigger, and she finally gave birth. The twin boys were born safely, and they were healthy. Our house became even more lively. Now I'm looking forward to seeing Logan find someone nice. Although I had no luck in marriage, I felt blessed with my family and work, and now I can look back and savor happiness.